20th anniversary of Bring It On, the tour in celebration of the album. 2 decades later, how does that album stand?
Actually standing up pretty good there. It's doing all right. Yeah, I think it took, it's kind of like a little, has been a bit of an awkward relationship with that record in the past, kind of having to have played those, particularly in the UK, playing those songs so many times, time and again. And, there have been moments when we really didn't want to play them, but, we just had like a 5-year break and, coming back to it, and particularly seeing the reaction of the fans here and how much it means to people,
Yeah.
And we I think we've finally come to terms with it, actually quite proud of the record.
How so in terms of coming to terms with it, in that, like, it was such a launching point out of nowhere, and it kind of maybe...
Yeah, it was just something we did to pass the time. It was never something that was supposed to be out there, like going back, and we literally, when we got signed, we got on a roller coaster. It's crazy. We'd never really played a gig before we got signed, and we lived out about a 3-year period that was very, very surreal.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you were in your early 20s, a brand new band, its first album, and you win the Mercury Prize.
Exactly, and we'd never really played live. So, perhaps that in some way was the secret of the way that record sounds. It was never, it was never played out in front of anyone. You know what I mean? It wasn't, there wasn't like the idea of a band forming around it and kind of the idea of, the crowd really liked that song and these guys like this song. It just was literally just for us, and, and then, there was so much riding on that record, and it was just, and I think now looking back, it's just a great thing that happened to us, basically.
Well, there must have been a time too where you might have wondered if it was a blessing or a curse to come out of the gates that fast.
Well, I think it was always a blessing because we had like a ready-made career in music. It was crazy, and that, that's how we always thought. But we just thought it might take a little bit longer. That was the thing, to get our shit together, particularly live.
Walk me through the whirlwind of that award night.
We had no inkling at all that we'd win, so we went along. I think by that point we played like a handful of shows, and we just went along for the free booze, Yeah. There were guys we adored, like Massive Attack and The Verve were there, Pulp were there, and we were like, there's no way we're winning this thing. And that's about all I remember. I'll actually put a bet on us for a laugh and made a bit of money with the bookies. But yeah, it's a long time ago. I don't really recall all too much about it.
Yeah. Well, now that you're 41, you could say that half of your life has been in Gomez.
Yeah.
Where's your mindset these days with where the band is and its place in the music industry?
I don't know. I think we were always outsiders. But I think as the tour in the UK has proven, it means particularly that record. And the rest of our colour, but particularly that record in the UK means a hell of a lot to people.
Yeah.
It kind of really, really means a hell of a lot to people. And even that in itself, just seeing the response to, us playing those songs again live, it's just really heartwarming,
Well,
genuinely.
The UK has a long history of American roots music being a huge influence on the sound of what came back over to the States. Why is it that Gomez had such an American roots base to it? There was a lot of blues in there, mountain tones. Where did that influence come from, and why was that such an integral part of the music?
It's just, I think it sounded good to us. If you're gonna play, it's basically the American vernacular, right? Rock and roll, and country and blues music. So if you're gonna mess around with that, you're gonna come across that.
Well, you're almost like that wave where you brought it back to the U.S. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, kind of. I suppose. I don't know. It just appeals to me. Blues music's always appealed to me. Certain elements of country music I've always enjoyed, and rock music, and it's just and like all this 60s and 70s music music, like British bands, they, you know, a lot of that was just reinterpreted in, you know, American music, which in itself is dabbling with Irish folk music, you know, and African music, and, you know, it's just...
No, yeah, where I live in Western North Carolina, it's, you know, pretty much a bluegrass mountain music mecca in terms of American roots. But it's really cool.
Yeah, it must be great at that.
Oh, I mean, you know, you can't throw a rock without hitting a great musician. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you put out I think it was 2 or 3 years. How long ago was your solo album? The last one wasn't.
The last one I put out was last May. So that was a year ago.
My question was, what is the place of the songwriter in the digital age? Is that role as important now as ever before?
I'm not so sure. I don't know. I mean, in terms of conveying emotion, I don't think you can do better than the song, really. Perhaps information's a bit different. You know, I think that, you know, kind of as like oral traditions died a long time ago, right? You know, so died with a recorded music. You know, so it's kind of. But I still think there's. I mean, I'm not going to stop doing it.
Well, it's one of those things where I wonder, like, the importance of it, as sometimes there's like you can't tell what's real anymore in the digital age, but the songwriter can still make those human connections happen, you know?
Absolutely, and that's always been the way, you know. But the thing for me is these days there's a lot of music there. It's hard to kind of get to good stuff. Harder and harder. It's becoming harder and harder, you know. But yeah, I think, you know, I mean, nothing basically moves me as much as a song. You know, if you get the right song, it's just, you know, I don't think that anything really can compare to that kind of mixture of, you know, the right words, the right melodies, singing the right tone. So, you know, there's kind of all sorts of things have to happen there. It's not, and I don't think there's many other things that really can move you in that way.
What does it mean to you that 20 years later, Gomez is not only still going, but still important to a lot of people?
I think it's great, and I think I don't think we really looked at it that way. You know, it was just like, certainly for the first few years, it was just survival. Kind of heads down, let's get through this, let's do this. And then, you know, it was about kind of the later years. I mean, we were still making what I consider great music. You know, I mean, I think the biggest record in the States was probably How We Operate.
Yeah.
So, which is weird. You say that to people here. You know, we had a certain level of success with that, and we were, you know, very proud of that record as well. I don't know. I think it's just it's just something very special about it. I mean, and this is, you know, we've not brought this out to the States yet. We played Australia, we played the UK, and particularly the shows in the UK. It was just like pure joy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was really good fun, and I think we made a lot of people happy. And that's, you know, if we can do that, that's brilliant.
Are you going to go back into the studio at all soon? It's been what, about 7?
We're hoping so. We're trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that's the idea. As long as we got the songs, you know, there's no point kind of like forcing it. You know, might end up straining something that way. You know,
How?
Yeah, I mean that's where we're all heading at the moment. That's where our heads are at.
How's the UK these days? I don't really hear too much from people about what's going on over there since Brexit.
There's a whole, I don't know, it's kind of, I guess in a way there's a lot of parallels with the States. It's more divided than ever, you know, there's more division here for sure.
It's same on this side of the ocean.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've spent a lot of time I spent a fair bit of time in the States, and, you know, obviously know a lot of guys there, a couple of the band live there, and it's kind of, it's a similar thing, you know, but it's just, yeah, it's just this weird kind of turning your back on diversity and tolerance, and it's not pleasant. And plus, it's not everyone here, you know. You're kind of under this banner, like most people. I think if most people really thought about it, they'd be like, oh, hold on a minute, that's really not a good idea.
Yeah, well, I feel too that, you know, we as human beings have a lot more in common than we either give ourselves
Absolutely.
credit or even are told.
That's the truth right there. And I think the point is, if you let people... A lot of it for me is born out of the economy, and it's born out of, people losing their identities through just their, losing their jobs, losing their sense of community, losing, everything that was solid that you would anchor your identity to is gone, been taken away, and that's what happens when you do that to people. That's what happens. They start hating.
Yeah.
They start looking around for the blame, and combine that with a crooked and truthless media an agenda. Then you
Are you
for disaster?
Are you optimistic about the future?
I don't know. I don't know. Like my two favorite places in the world have just kind of been through a total nightmare,
Yeah.
But I guess things can only get better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, my final question.
Let's hope things can only get better.
I always hold out hope, no matter what. But my final question is, what is a life creating and performing music and touring the world and meeting all kinds of people? What does that taught you about what it means to be a human being?
What has that taught me? Just to listen, I guess. To listen a bit more and be more tolerant and not to judge situations and people and things on kind of face value,
Yeah.
And just, I mean, and, it taught me how to drink a hell of a